Good afternoon, beekeepers and bee enthusiasts. How are you doing? It's another great day at the farm, and we're hanging out. It's a little cloudy outside, but it's not raining or anything, so it's not too bad. So, you know, it's getting into March, or later March, I should say. And before long, spring's going to be kicking in, and honeybees are going to be casting swarms out into nature. And it's up to you if you want to provide a nice, beautiful house for them to move into. So that brings us to our next topic, and of course today we'll be talking about the right steps to catching swarms. So it's really easy to set up a swarm trap. You know, it's as easy as just taking a box, you know, putting some frames in, baiting it correctly, and then putting it into a tree, and then you're good to go. And if you don't want to mess with a swarm trap, you can actually bait a main hive, which I'll show you a little bit later, and you can get that ready and catch swarms that way. So it's a really easy way. Remember, catching swarms is a lot easier and a lot healthier for your apiary than it is using packaged bees. So getting local bees is always the best way to go, and we're going to show you how to do it right now. So I have a lot of interesting things here right now on this table, and this is all stuff to get ready, get our swarm trap ready to catch some honeybees. Now remember, we know that when we're catching swarms that honeybees prefer an ideal size in the home they're moving into, and that size is about 10 gallons deep. And so in this swarm trap we have right here, it's a land swarm trap, but it contains about 10 gallons of space on the inside. Another thing that contains about 10 gallons of space is a Langstroth deep. So if you're using Langstroth hives, you can use a Langstroth deep to catch your swarm, and pretty much the size of a Langstroth deep is perfect for catching swarms. It's, like I said, it's like 10 gallons too. So those are the kind of spaces you're looking for whenever you're catching bees. Now, so we got something for them to move into, and it's about 10 gallons big. Now, one thing we need to talk about is the right kind of bait. So what do we want to use when we're baiting a swarm trap? So the first big thing that I want to talk about is propolis. Now, if you don't know what propolis is, it's a tree resin that honeybees will collect, and they use it to seal cracks and whatnot in their hive. So you'll find propolis in any beehive. They use the stuff all the time, and it's really good stuff, and it smells really good too. But you can get some propolis and you can rub it on the inside of the swarm trap, and that gives it a beautiful smell. And when bees approach the swarm trap, they will be familiar with the smell and say, hey, this might be a pretty good home to move into. Sorry, the wind kind of got strong there. What I was about to say is, you can use propolis from your apiary, from your own beehives, or if you don't have any, you can go to horizontalhive.com, and there Dr. Leah sells all kinds of stuff for beekeeping, and you can buy some of this propolis, and you basically take it and you rub it on the inside of your swarm trap. Rub it around real good on the inside, all four sides, and even on the bottom too. And remember, bees love the smell of propolis. So propolis is really good. They love the smell of it, and this will definitely increase your chances of catching a swarm. Okay. So propolis is good to go. You definitely want to get some if you can. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is we need something that bees can make familiar with themselves, the scent of the interest in swarms, if that's what you want to call it. And a really good scent that honeybees, they fall over themselves over, is lemongrass essential oil. So this lemongrass essential oil, it just gives a strong swarm scent. And a lot of honeybees, if they smell that, they know a place is a really good spot to keep swarms. So you want to get you some lemongrass essential oil that you can put on the inside. And what I have here, this is a slow release tube. I'm going to put a little lemongrass essential oil on the inside. And the reason why it's a slow release tube is you do not want to put way too much of this stuff on the inside of your hive. If you do, too much on the inside, you're going to overpower the bees that are interested. a slow release tube. And you can get this again from Dr. Leo's site, horizontalhive.com. And if you don't have a slow release tube, but you do have lemongrass essential oil, you can actually get you a Ziploc bag and take you a paper towel and just dab a little bit of lemongrass on the paper towel, put it on the inside of the Ziploc bag, and then put the Ziploc bag at the base of your swarm trap. So put it on the inside at the bottom, and like I said, poke a small hole in the Ziploc bag, and that will give the swarm trap just this really good scent. And when bees smell that lemongrass essential oil, they're like, holy cow, this is the place to be. Literally, like this is a really good home, and they love that lemongrass essential oil. But just remember, don't use too much of it or you're gonna scare the swarms away. Now, the last thing, of course, we have to consider is we're gonna be putting some frames on the inside, but you know, we don't have any wax on these frames. So what do we use to get them ready so the bees can start building comb on the frames when they move in? Well, I just ordered this awesome package of wax foundation from Dr. Leo. And I know this stuff comes from out of country. It's really high quality stuff. And I know that a lot goes into making it, and I always appreciate buying it because it always smells so good. And I know the bees love it too. The bees smell it and they're just like, wow, this is some primo stuff right here. You know, if you got to invest into your bees. If you want your bees to be interested in somewhere, then you got to make it appealing to them. Wow. So this stuff looks really good. I'll show you a piece of it. So this is a sheet of wax, and it smells really good. Like, this is really good smelling stuff. So you're probably curious, you know, we want to put this stuff on a frame, and we don't want to, you know, we don't want the bees to just build on the frame with no kind of foundation on the inside. Otherwise they could get cross comb and all kinds of stuff. So we want to get them something to start with. So how much do we put? Well, I'm going to show you once I'm finished, but I basically take about an inch strip off of this wax and put an inch strip on each frame. And you know, you can use as much of it as you want, but this stuff isn't cheap either. So, you know, I like to use an inch strip. I've never had any issues with using an inch strip. The only thing I gotta tell you is when you're hanging these swarm traps, they need to be level, because if you only put a single inch strip on the inside on each frame and your swarm trap isn't level, they're gonna start building frames or comb in all kinds of weird ways. So you wanna make sure your swarm trap is level, and then the wax will work good. So give me a second. I'm gonna go put some wax on these frames, and then we'll put them on inside. All right, so I took the wax, I cut it into inch strips, and I put an inch strip on each one of these frames. Now, if you don't know how I did this, I basically just took a lighter and I held the wax over the wire, and then I took the lighter and I lit the foundation and it melted onto it, and that should be good to go. So I've done 7 frames here, and I'm gonna start putting them in here. But one thing I wanna talk about that is really good when you're trying to catch bees is if you can ever get some old comb that the bees can start building on when they move in, they will be way more likely to move in. You know, comb is a really good way to attract swarm. It's probably one of the best things you can find. I actually ran out of comb because I've been baiting swarm traps already, and I've already used the comb in those swarm traps. So in this swarm trap, we're just gonna have 7 frames with an inch strip of foundation, which is fine, that works too. They'll still move in, but if you can get you some comb, then that is the way to go. That's probably some of the best bait you can get as far as catching swarms, old comb. Because the good thing about comb is not only does it smell like a beehive wherever you have it, comb is something they can start building on right when they move in. So comb's a really good attractant, and I highly recommend using some if you can get your hands on some. But if you can't, if you don't have any, then just go with 7 frames or however many frames in your swarm trap, and just give them something to start building on, and they'll do it themselves. Okay. So once I seal the swarm trap, it's got all the bait and everything, it's ready to go. What I like to do is I like to put the lid on top, and then I like to take 2 screws and screw the back end and then screw the front end as well. And that'll keep this top from coming off and bees going everywhere. Cool. So this swarm trap's all set. It's ready to catch some bees. So now I'm just going to go look around for a tree or somewhere to hang it. And you know, we used to kind of put our swarm traps like 10-15 feet up in a tree, but then we were able to just start catching swarms right at the base of trees. And so that's what we do now. I will go find some tree somewhere on our property where I can just put this thing up like 4 or 5 feet up in the air. And it's really as easy as that. It's not too much crazier. And yeah, this thing's all good to go. Now, let's head on to the back where the old Cove colony used to be. And we're gonna bait a main hive back there. So that should be interesting. And let's go ahead and knock it out. Okay, so we showed you how to bait a regular swarm trap for a land swarm trap. And now I'm going to show you, maybe you don't want to put swarm traps in trees, and maybe you don't want to do the transfer of bees from swarm trap to main hive. Well, I'm here to let you know you can actually start in a main hive. You can bait a main hive, and you definitely have a good chance of catching bees. We've caught several colonies in our main hives before, and it's really just as easy as baiting the swarm trap. You basically do it the same way in the main hive, and it's really simple. So we're going to do that right now. So remember when I told you you want to use lemongrass essential oil? Well, if you don't have the slow release tube, like I said, you can use a Ziploc bag, put lemongrass essential oil with a paper towel on the inside, and a little dab of lemongrass essential oil, and then a hole on the inside of the Ziploc bag, just a small hole, and then basically we're going to put this on the bottom of the hive, just like that. Now we're going to take our frames, we're going to put them on the inside, and then we'll move on from there. So I got my foundation here at the top of the frame, just like before. It's good foundation. Dr. Lee, I definitely sell some good stuff. And I'm just going to put 7 frames on the inside, because remember, we want about 10 gallons of space. And 7 frames for a Land's hive is about 10 gallons of space. So I put my frames on the inside. And it's got propolis on the inside too, so it's good to go as far as that goes. And now for a main hive, you don't want to leave a bunch of empty space on the inside. Remember, you want to leave about 7 frames. And this Land's hive holds 14 frames, so we're going to take this divider board and we're going to divide the rest of the frames off. And then I'm going to take some of this straw right here, and I'm going to fill it in on the empty space. Just like that. Cool. So we got straw in the empty space. And this hive is baited. It is all set to go. So all we gotta do now is just, of course, close the top. And this hive is set. Now, for those of you that think you can only catch swarms in a tree, I'm here to tell you, you can definitely catch them in a hive. We've caught 2 or 3 colonies at least in a main hive where we just baited it. And it worked no problem. It was real simple. And basically, this hive is set. It's all ready for swarm season. So bees are gonna come and they're gonna check out the hive, and then hopefully they get interested and they move in. So that about wraps it up for our tricks and trades of catching swarms. It's real simple. Go get you a swarm trap, put it in a tree, or bait you a main hive. That's really all you gotta do. And then as long as you do it before swarm season, you've got a really good chance of catching a colony of bees. And remember, colonies of bees are way healthier if you catch them in a swarm versus getting them in a package, because swarms are local, they come from your area, they're used to the climate and everything, whereas packages come from really far distances, and of course they have a high failure rate. So catching swarms is a lot better. You know, save yourself some money. Don't go buy $200 worth of packages every year, you know, or even more than that, however many packages you want to buy. Don't go and waste your money on that stuff. Catch swarms. It's so much easier, and really it just takes a little practice. And our first season, we were able to catch multiple swarms the first time we tried in 2019, and we just read a few guides and whatnot, but we give you all the tips and everything you need to be successful. And we've got a great playlist out there for catching swarms, so check that out too. We hope you have a great day, and until next time, we'll see you soon.